Ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, what's good, y'all? Chris Gary for a very special Focus Fights interview. And the man I'm talking to right now is a man who really doesn't need much of an introduction if you're a fan of MMA in the San Antonio area, but I'll try my best to give him one anyways. He's a 6'5", 261 and a quarter pound man who's ready to, well, I'm just going to go ahead and skip all the way ahead. He's going to be fighting Juan the Kraken Adams at Fury FC 49 on August 29th at Cowboys Dancehall in San Antonio for the Fury FC heavyweight title. And he's fought all over the world, in Japan, in the Philippines, in the LFA and Legacy FC, and elsewhere. But more importantly, he's a member of the San Antonio Police Department and has been one for quite a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Richard the Black Eagle Odoms. How are you, sir? Richard, you there? Hello? Richard? Richard? Mr. Odoms? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can hear you, but can you hear me? Hold on a second. Let me.
I can hear you, Mr.
How we doing now? Can you see me right now?
Yeah, I can see you. Obviously, you can see me, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good, sir. Sounds good.
Okay, but still, how have you been doing? Obviously, since not only since COVID, but you haven't had a fight since November of 2019, and obviously, with your extensive work with SAPD, you probably haven't been getting much time to train. So, how much has that taken off of you?
No, man. Training is life for me. So, man, I have to train and work and be husband and father at the same time. So it's a constant changing of hat things going on, and I'm constantly moving. So it's not like I get a dead moment.
Understood. And I mean, to be quite honest, you've been fighting since July of 2010 back in Rock Extreme MMA over in Corpus Christi, and obviously for the precursor of Legacy FC, which was Kickass Promotions. But still,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be coming into this upcoming fight with Juan Adams with a bit of an age advantage and a bit of an experience advantage. I mean, is there anything that you probably know about Juan Adams aside from his UFC days that you think you can exploit come fight night?
No, nothing that I don't know that would be kind of hidden or anything like that. One's a hard hitter. He's fighting out of Houston, and he fights out of Jackson Winks gym. Again, so he's got good people, and he's going to be bringing it on the 29th. And I'm just here just trying to make sure that I'm doing everything to bring the fight as well. As I'm never coming in where I'm going to be lacking or anything like that. So with that being said, there's going to be some fireworks on the 29th.
I mean, obviously you still train out of Pete Spratt Muay Thai, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, obviously everybody know Pete Spratt, the UFC veteran. I mean, he is no pushover, so to speak. I mean, so I'm
Yes,
pretty
sir.
sure fighting out of his camp is probably just as equal as Juan Adams fighting out of Jackson Winklejohn over in Albuquerque.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then hey, that's the way I look at it. And Pete Spratt, he's like the secret weapon. So with
Mhm.
that being said, I'll be able to go in and start working with him, and get things done, and just be at the level that he's at. He's kind of lit the path for me and my age, things like that. So with that being said, uh, he competed all the way to he was 48, I believe. I think his last little fight. But other than that, he set a path, and that's what I plan to follow.
I see, I see. But still, you know, going back on how you started in MMA, obviously you are a San Antonio Police Department officer, but how did you first get into contact with any training camps or anything just to start up your MMA career? Because I know 2010 was a long time ago.
Yeah. I was involved in martial arts before I got on the department. So right before I got on the department, I my thing was I wanted to be a police officer for ever since I graduated high school. So it was about 3 or 4 years in between there, before I started applying for the department here. With that being said, I wanted to make sure that you know I wanted to be able to defend myself and be able to take care and do the things that you need to do in order to be a police officer. So I dedicated myself to becoming a martial artist and a black belt. I wanted to accomplish my black belt. I was involved in Taekwondo at that time, and I was involved in kickboxing, Olympic style. Taekwondo tournaments, point sparring tournaments, all kind of nonsense. So I was involved in all of that, and then I went and got on the department. When I got on the department, um, once I graduated from the academy, I needed to have something that was going to keep me uh, working. As far as myself, I'm not the guy that goes to the gym and looks in the mirror and takes selfies and does all this CrossFit stuff and don't really have any reason to be doing it. So I needed some type of motivation. So going back to fighting was excellent for me. So started off in boxing, which was with Jesse James LeHigh. He was at the police academy training there when during the off hours and things like that. So with that being said, I linked up with him, and from there was history. So we just constantly keep going right there with the professional boxing. Uh, I quit professional boxing in order to try and get into the UFC and doing the mixed martial arts. So with that being said, I dove into that situation, and it's been that way from there.
I see, I see. And you mentioned the Texas tornado, Jesse James LeHigh. Would you basically say that if it wasn't partially for him, that you wouldn't be doing MMA or doing boxing in general?
Oh man, if it wasn't for Jesse James LeHigh, I don't think I would have the boxing that I have in my system. I think I was been so led the path as far as how championship carry themselves. And man, that if I could take from anybody, Jesse James LeHigh is the guy that I take that from. Him and his crew and everybody that was involved there. Uh, that was one uh, lucky experience that I had. Just a thing of luck that I ran into James LeHigh and then was able to uh, now be able to watch him in his career when he was making his comeback and he was able to get belts and things like that. That was awesome to watch, and it's awesome experience that I'm using to fall back on uh, when it comes to grinding, when it comes to working, when it comes to putting in the work that you need to do in order to get in the ring. In his case, but now it's going to be my case in the cage. Uh, Being able to make those things work.
I see, I see. And obviously, when it comes down to the start of your MMA career, you went 5-0 before going into a promotion called Pro Elite, which was just trying to brush its shoulders off after Elite XC died. You
Mm-hmm.
won straight. You fought on a big card in Hawaii, choking out Jake Hume, but then you stumbled your way into Legacy FC, and
Yeah.
you obviously met with the people behind it. You met with Mick Maynard, you met with Colin Cantrell, you met with a lot of people over there. But what was those two fights in Legacy FC like for you?
I mean, legacy was home. So, being in Texas, being able to compete at that level, those are awesome times for me. So, with that being said, I took so much from that, as far as, again, not having to leave home and take such big of experience from the situation was awesome as well. Um, like with James, professional boxing, I got to see a lot of that, and everything that went along with it, and how to carry yourself and things like that. Same thing with Legacy. Legacy, set me up, and like I've said, right here in my backyard, being able to take those experiences rather than having to travel all over the world and get those experiences was fundamentally sound for myself.
I see. And obviously, you would have had an opportunity to travel the world after your two fight stint in Legacy. You would have had an opportunity to fight in the UFC in 2014, but you got injured. You were supposed to face off against Ruslan Magomedov, and instead of fighting Magomedov, you ended up fighting Konstantin Irokin in Russia for Eurasia. Actually, not for Eurasia Fight Nights, but for the Far Eastern Federation of Modern Pancration. What was
Mm-hmm.
that particular event like?
It was different. It's it's different just being overseas, one,
Mm-hmm.
and then being in Russia, two, which is crazy because of my timeline and things like that. Coming up, it was always Russia against U.S., Russia against U.S., Russia against U.S., and so going over there and being uh steps away from the KGB building and other things, and not being able to no consulate or anything like that near you. You would have to go to Japan in order to get to a consulate. You're kind of on your own, and that whole experience was awesome too. I was able to go over there. I was able to do what I had to do, and as far as getting in there and fighting. Um, the situation just made me appreciate commission so much more. I think in that situation, Constantine had broke my upper jaw with one
Oh,
shot, which is crazy. Um, so I'm thinking that he doesn't hold that much power, and I've never been hit like that from anybody that I fought my whole time, boxing and boxing included. And there's some wars when you go and you spar with boxing, man, that you get hit, you get cracked pretty hard. But I've never been hit like that, and it being a fight, and just there was a lot of things that kind of played out. Uh, Going overseas, man, you appreciate the commissions, you appreciate the people that are watching, every move of the fighter and things like that. So once I got back from that incident, um, man, I appreciation for referees, people who are watching, things along the line. The commission was way up there because you didn't have any of that over there in Russia. Uh, in Russia, it was crazy, and some of the things that they were doing in the back was kind of like uh, it's not a clean situation. So
mm.
that
Would you?
that experience.
Would you basically say it was more like a federal investigation type of thing, or something that you 14 classified?
No, it's just things that weren't weren't kosher. You couldn't get away with some of the stuff that they were doing as far as wrapping the hands, and they're very meticulous over here about wrapping over the knuckles. Them guys were wrapping over the knuckles, doing all kind of stuff. And you knew when you went in there, it was almost a street fight type situation. But you know, you're over there 5,000-6,000 miles away from home, and you got to go out and do what you got to do. So that experience was different for me, but
I
it was
mean,
also a learning experience.
exactly. But would you basically say it was like the same thing when you were fighting for WSOF Global? Because you fought twice in that promotion against Crusher Kawaguchi in Japan and against Hirokin in the Philippines
Yeah,
2 years later.
I think coming back after that experience, uh, like I said, WSOF, they had a lot of Americanized stuff that was going on. They had somebody that was watching over things as far as like commissions. So it was a lot more clean in that situation, and I felt a little more safer there. But man, WSOF, uh, they kind of saved my career because it was like nobody. I couldn't get any fights. I couldn't get anything. Everybody was ducking me. It was just crazy. So going over there was different. Being able to go out of the country, being able to see, like Japan, and being over there to compete with there. I went to the Philippines. That was awesome. And so, it was just a great experience over at WSOF, and I love them guys so much for the experience that they had. I wish they would have kept the league where it have been going well and up. I still would be with them right now.
I see. And another promotion that you probably would have still been in is the LFA, and they like to use the slogan "The future is now." When you
Mhm.
defeated Jared Man Mountain Bandera to become the LFA heavyweight champ, I think the inaugural LFA and then
Yes, sir.
lost to Jeff Hughes, who would go on to the UFC, did you feel like, in a way, that your future could have been solidified if you would have won that Hughes fight and probably gone on to the UFC?
What's funny is that during that experience, me getting a belt, usually if you hold a belt like LFA is a huge belt to hold outside of UFC, outside of Bellator. So with that being said, usually guys get picked up pretty quick on that situation. They end up on Contender Series, or they end up fighting in the UFC, whatever, just getting signed. Because again, with that being said, that's just recognition that you're leading, and especially in the United States. So with that being said, uh, man, having the belt was awesome. I just wish that things would have went a little quicker for me as far as being pulled in onto the UFC and being able to compete at the highest level, at the pinnacle of the sport.
I see, I see. And, I hate to stray off the beaten path. I mean, obviously, as I did mention, you are a member of the San Antonio Police Department, and you probably have to deal with a lot of prejudice every day. But ever since the whole situation with, ever since the whole situation with Trayvon Martin over a decade ago, I know that a lot of, you know, black and brown, what am I trying to say? A lot of racial tension has been happening,
Yeah.
especially over the last 6 years, involving the police and involving regular everyday people. I think I was one of those people myself that been involved in a situation like that 7 years
Hmm.
ago, but still, with the world as it is right now, with this country as it is right now, do you, as a not only a black man but a member of a police department, do you feel that every day that things are just getting more and more dangerous in society?
I think society is taking a turn. It used to be a situation where we stuck up for what was right, and right now it's not so much that um we get to throw in things like race, uh, economic status, things along those lines into how we go about doing things. And when we make that factor over right and wrong, I feel like a society that we've gone the wrong direction. I feel like everybody should be held accountable for what is right, what is wrong, um, and that race or economic status or things along those lines shouldn't have any excuses as to why I am the way I am. Um, and I think society has kind of taken a step back, uh, rather than stepping forward and having ownership over your own past, your own what legacy that you're trying to set.
Mm.
As especially men wise, that's been a pinnacle thing. It's not cool to be masculine anymore. Uh, it's okay if you're a little feminine. It's okay if you're a lot of different things. Um, and
Basically, what you're trying to say is it's okay to let those feelings show out.
yeah, 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 and that's where you know as men, white, black, orange, it doesn't matter what your color is. Uh, as men, I feel society has allowed the man to become more emotional rather than rational, and men have always been more rational than emotional. Emotions is always a female trait, and uh, when you're allowed to go down that road and not be rational, things like this happen. Things like this happen. You start to put your feelings in front of what's right, what's wrong. Um, you know, if I go and I rob a store, or I use a gun against anybody and try and commit a crime, um, if I get shot in that process, that's that's a part of the job. That's a part of the job that I was doing. I'm a bank robber. I'm going in to rob somebody. I end up getting shot. That's on me. That's not on anybody else. That's on me and my actions and me standing up for what I was doing. Now it's not so much. Now it's not so much. Oh, poor guy. He was hurting for money, and he had his family at home, and blah blah blah. There's a lot of things. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do things. And when we allow the right things to be overshadowed by history or uh, economic status or race, that's nonsense, I believe. Um,
Mm.
Being black, I never want to take me being black as weakness for everybody else to kind of give me their pity, sympathy as far as who I am. I'm gonna be the man I'm gonna be, and I'm not gonna be ashamed of who I am. I'm gonna be proud of who I am. And with that being said, me being a black man, I feel like uh, I have an example to set for everybody else as far as youngsters and things coming up. They happen to take a look at what's going on. I want to give everybody a good example. Myself, my kids, uh, anybody else who may be watching. I'm always gonna set the example, and the example is always leading by example.
Exactly. And I guess that would probably disqualify me from asking, what basically would happen if you would see an officer overstep their boundaries, like try and over enforce, so to speak.
Oh, nah. And you're gonna have situations like that in life. People who are going to abuse their power. You're going to have people that are going to abuse their position. Um, Stopping somebody from doing that shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be an issue. You know, you have your morals. You have what's behind you, and if something's not right, you should stand up for what's not right. Um, if I were to run into an officer who may be overstepping his bounds or whatever it may be, there will be no issue with me calling that guy out or turning that guy in if it was something criminal. Oh my God, I'll be the first one to want to get him out, because again, if he doesn't belong, not everybody can do the job that I.
Mr. Odoms, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but
Okay, we
but
good
still,
for.
I can totally understand that, especially for you being, an officer, obviously. But still, though, I mean, when it comes down to certain people, you got to make sure that they don't overstep their bounds. Otherwise, the police and the people trying to uphold the law will be just as wild as those trying to commit the crime, so to speak.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that we try to avoid. We try to avoid being like that. That's nonsense to me. Um, San Antonio, is just a different type city. You don't hear the nonsense that goes on in other cities across this country. And then my department, the San Antonio Police Department, is over and leaping bounds over other departments because of the way they train, uh, the diversity that's going on here. San Antonio is a military city where we have five military bases. That's some craziness. And then people come from all over and call this place their home. Um, and you deal with so many different cultures here. And with that being said, uh, because of the diversity, I feel like San Antonio kind of leads uh, the cities and the police departments across the nation with diversity, with being able to go from one person to another person, from one culture to another culture, and being able to fit the law in where it fits, and do it in a respectful manner. Um, yeah, as far as my department, I feel like we're leaps and bounds over a lot of that nonsense, and a lot of people try and bring that here and try and paint us as the rest of the country, and sorry, but we're not the rest of the country. We're way ahead of that situation.
I see, because I mean, in a city that only has one major sports team, five military bases, and a whole lot of Texas history, I mean, I'm guessing San Antonio is probably better than any other city in the state as far as, stopping things from starting to become chaos.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Again, that's San Antonio, man. That's the place that I was born at, and I live here, and I love, and those things will never change. San Antonio will always be different from other cities.
I see. Now, again, straying off the beaten path, obviously, I mean, I have to mention your age again. You're 46 years old. Do you think that when it comes down to the sport of MMA, not just MMA in general, but combat sports as a whole, do you think it's just starting to get younger and younger and more celebrity influenced and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's becoming a sport, so a lot of people are being drawn to it. Uh, that becoming, when when I when I started, uh, I became a mixed martial artist because it started becoming a sport. You started having the Ultimate Fighter, then you started having UFC putting on sporting events where there wasn't. gut and bloods and blood and guts and broken bones and blah blah blah. There's still all of those things, but it's under controlled situation. Um, if you go into boxing and you get knocked out, that's expected. You went under that situation. You knew that people would be hitting you as hard as they could possibly hit you, and that would be one of the outcomes. Before UFC was like, man, you two guys going against each other, weight class maybe way out of line. There may be some advantages here or there, and sometimes those things were exploited hugely. So um, it being a sport now and it being uh, more weight classes, more skill level. I mean, this is all built on the youngster. As far as them being in martial arts, them delving into multiple martial arts, because you can't just can't be single minded here. You can't just be Muay Thai person and come in and think that you're gonna smash the world. It ain't gonna happen that way. You can't be jujitsu guy and think that you're just gonna out jujitsu everybody and that's gonna put you ahead. You got to know the full game. And being youngsters, this training is different. This training is pretty rough. It's pretty rough to be going from wrestling to grappling to Muay Thai or some type of kickboxing and then boxing and wrestling. I mean, it's full gambit. So uh, the training just requires a younger person, because older people can't hang in this nonsense. I just happen to be a older man in a sport where young men die young,
Mm,
and that's just the way it is. They always say beware of the old man in a sport where young men die young, because obviously he knows something. There's something that he knows that's making him ahead of everything and keeping him there.
hmm I see. And when it comes down to that whole aspect of young men die young, I mean it should be more like young men live fast, because you got a lot of these kids, and I can't really say much about kids myself. I'm only 28, but still, when it comes down to some of
Mm-hmm.
these social media stars wanting to get into the ring or get into the cage and thinking that, they're full of piss and vinegar and they can't really be stopped. If you were to, see some of these young kids out on the streets of San Antonio or anywhere, wherever you fight, trying to
Mm-hmm.
think about a fighting career, and you would want to bring them into Pete Spratt Muay Thai, what would be the main thing that you would probably to, get them to train with you, just to be corrected about the world of fighting?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of thing is just discipline. Discipline. Being there for wrestling, being there for boxing, being there for Muay Thai, being there for everything, and always being a sponge. Because I go across the city. It doesn't matter what a school or gym or what place I end up in. If it be a boxing gym or it be a Muay Thai place or it be a BJJ place, I'm respected all the way around. And I'm respected more because I show respect to the arts rather than just coming in and trying to pop my collar and say that I'm doing this or doing that. I come in and I expect to learn something. So being a student, you have to be a student of this game, because if you're not a student of this game will pass you up real quick.
Exactly. And that's what I don't get a lot about a lot of these social media influencers, like the Paul brothers, all these YouTubers and TikTokers. I'm pretty sure you probably like me, you probably don't even know who half these people are.
Yeah, especially when they come out and they say, "Oh, we're YouTubers or we're that." Yeah, that's great, dandy. But you don't see them people coming to MMA and doing that nonsense. They can
That's
get
why
away
they
with
stick
it.
in the boxing. That's why
Yeah,
they sticking to
they
boxing.
can get away with it in boxing. You do this MMA stuff. You come over here. It's a different ball game. It's a different ball game, and that's why I want to be so much part of MMA because mixed martial arts is mixed martial arts, and the fight will occur or end up in a lot of different places, and if you're lacking, you're going to be found out real quick.
Hmm. I see. I see. Now over to why we're here talking to one another. Obviously, you haven't fought since November 2019. You have not fought in Fury FC, the promotion you're going to be fighting for in about 4 weeks or less, since 2015 when you beat up, I guess, a native of my neck of the woods, Galveston County, Texas, Jeremy Hardy, via split decision.
Mhm.
What's it
Yeah.
going to feel like going into that Fury FC cage on August 29th against Juan Adams, a guy who he says he doesn't look at fight film, he says he doesn't look at what the other opponent has in store, but what do you, I mean, when you step into that cage against Juan Adams, what do you think will probably be going through your mind knowing that, you're going to be fighting for another title of another regional promotion?
Just another day at work, man. That's all it is to me. Um, Again, like I say, being a police officer gives me a different type perspective on life. Um, the situation is, at any time I may get that call, and I may have anybody that I have to deal with, and I have to be able to match them, and I have to be able to control that situation, and being able to always be put in that situation. I've been conditioned to. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. I have to go in and I have to condition myself to be able to deal with that situation and deal with that situation with rules. I just can't go into a situation and just, light a torch to somebody's house and be like, hey, there's no more fighting going on there.
Hmm.
I have to move on. I have to go in. I have to handle myself with a little bit of tact. I have to go in and I have to, if it comes to where we're going to be physical with each other, then I have to be able to get out of that situation. I got places that I want to be. I want to come back home. My family needs me. My kids need me. And with that being said, I go into some dangerous situations, and I have to be able to come out of those things and be resourceful in that situation. Um, and if Juan doesn't watch film, great, fantastic. That's the way he does things. Um, that's not saying that his way of doing things is right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the way things that works for him. It works for him. Um, I like seeing as much information as I can get on my opponent, because again, that it gives me some type of background, and it allows me to be able to uh, morph myself to uh, what it needs to be come fight night. So a lot of these things are, hey, he's a big name. He's coming out of the UFC, trying to get back into the UFC. You know, these things aren't really a stretch for me, because I do this on a constant. Do this on a constant with having to deal with the public, and being able to be out here, and being able to do things the right way.
I see. I see. And I hate to beat off the I hate to go off the beaten path one more time and ask another question not pertaining to the fight, but obviously you're going into your first fight in almost 2 years. You're
Mhm.
obviously a San Antonio Police Department officer, but if you weren't, let's just say, if you weren't involved in martial arts, let alone mixed martial arts, and you weren't really involved in, you know, protecting and serving the law of the city of San Antonio, Texas, what would you say would have been your backup plan? What would you say would have been your plan B, so to speak?
Oh, as far as career choice, I think I could go anywhere. If I wasn't involved in martial arts, uh, that wouldn't I wouldn't have been able to get on the department, and that was the thing I promised to myself. I think I would have probably been to the military.
Mm,
Military would have been one. It's being a military town. Uh, there could be a lot of different ways I could have went. It just happened to be that the Lord put these things in my path and made sure I stayed to those paths that way I couldn't deviate from them. And it's been a blessed life for me.
I see. I see. I mean, to be quite honest, you look like you could have been in the military. I mean, that's not trying to basically sound like I'm just saying all San Antonio people going to the military. You legitimately look like you could have been, fighting in Desert Storm or something.
Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Uh, being like I said, San Antonio is a diverse place, and being around so many different people, the military was something that I felt would have probably been like a Plan B type situation, and I had no problem with going down that road.
I see. I see. But still, going back to your fight, upcoming August 29th, is at Cowboys Dancehall in San Antonio. For those of y'all who are listening to this or watching this, if you haven't gotten your tickets, go get them now because they're going to sell out fast, COVID permitting. But still,
Oh
now,
yeah.
this fight is also going to be shown on the UFC Fight Pass, and this is going to be the first time you will be fighting on a UFC platform. You know, when it comes down to this particular fight, what do you hope that the fans are able to get out of you?
I just hope that they're able to see that I'm different. I'm a lot different than what people are looking at. I'm different. So with that being said, me being the age that I'm at, it's not going to change anything. I'm going to bring some good things to the table, and I just want to go out there and put on a good show, um, and just show what San Antonio is all about. That's what I'm all about.
I see, I see. And is there any message that you would like to give to the fans that have been with you probably since the days of Legacy FC on Access TV or since your days in WSOF Global?
I'm honored that y'all would even follow me, man. I'm honored that y'all would even be interested. But with that being said, I've been grinding, I've been working. I plan to come and show you new stuff. Um, Due to the COVID situation, we didn't really have a lot of fights. Again, you had mentioned that before. Uh, didn't have a lot of fights. So with that being said, I wasn't able to compete or anything along those lines. Been itching to compete, ready to get back in the cage. And with that being said, training's going well. I plan to have some fireworks come the 29th. Me and Juan, and Juan is the perfect person that's going to come in and show my growth again with his wrestling. Wrestling has kind of been a thing that has been my kryptonite type situation, and I hope to show my growth.
I see, I see. And one more question I want to ask. I mean, I know that you're obviously getting up to age. Like I said, you're 46 years old. Do you
Mhm.
potentially see yourself fighting until like you're 50 or 60 or maybe, going into one of these big time promotion big time fight cards with some of these older MMA veterans like what they do in boxing?
Well enough, and my health wise is well enough to where I can compete at the biggest stage. I feel as far as heavyweights, jumping in the UFC, which is the pinnacle, uh, I should be able to compete with a lot of those heavyweights. A lot of those fights that I've lost in the past, all of those fights that I've lost in the past, every one of them, every one of them has made to the UFC right after that situation, or gotten a call and either been uh, decided not to, or things along those lines. But anybody who's beat me, which I only have 4 losses, everybody that's been on there has gotten a call from the UFC within a couple of weeks from the UFC being compete at the highest level. I just want my turn. I want to be
I
back
mean,
in there.
it's kind of obvious. Jeff Hughes went to the UFC. I think Hirokin went to the UFC, and Jared Rosholt's been to the UFC. So,
Sure.
maybe you probably might not be, if you end up getting called up to the UFC, you might not be the oldest fighter to have fought in the octagon. Obviously, Joe Gettleman Charles fought back in the day, and he was a 50-year-old karate clerk, a 50-year-old karate teacher. But you would definitely, at the age that you are now, you would definitely prove that age ain't nothing but a number.
Exactly, exactly. And with that being said, I take care of myself. I'm not a drinker. I don't go out and party. I'm not somebody who's gonna you're gonna find, out. I'm a family man. I stay at home. I live with my wife, my kids, and the only time I really leave this place is to go train. So with that being said, as far as teaching children and adults martial arts at Submission Concepts. I mean, that's my life. That's my life. Go and train with Pete Spratt and Rodrigo. Uh, that's my life. Going to sparring. It during this COVID nonsense. It kind of put a damper on sparring. But now that everything's been lifted, it was great to go and spar and be there every weekend and things like that, and just making yourself better. So that's what I'm constantly doing. That's what I'm constantly the message that I'm trying to send to my children. Uh, is to grind. Grind and make life fun. And as long as you make some life fun, the grind isn't hard work. It's just work. It's easy money. It's me having fun and doing what I'm doing.
Exactly, exactly. And with that being said, it's been fun talking with you. I know you got a lot of things to do to go. You obviously got family to go home to. You got things to train on before this fight. Is there any
Yeah.
way you can tell us, what's your social media handles, how people can contact you, and is there anything that you want to say about Pete Spratt Muay Thai or Submission Concepts or Hahiko Pinheiro BJJ?
And all 3 of those, Pete Spratt Muay Thai, Submission Concepts, and Rodrigo Pinheiro BJJ. You know, those are the three main people that 3 main schools that I work out or train out of. And those are great places to train if you happen to be in the area. To give them support, give me support, things along those lines. Um, as far as everything else, I'm just happy to be able to compete at the age that I am, and it takes work, it takes time to keep your body in shape, keep your injuries down to a minimum, things like that. But hey, it's a part of the game. As far as being my age, I if I'm able to train and work the way I do now at 50, then great, so be it. 55, great, so be it. As long as I'm healthy, I feel that age is just a number, and as long as I'm not taking, I'm never taking any beatings, never taking anything that had been crucially bad or anything along those lines where I've taken a lot of damage and not been the same after. It's just been I've been fortunate. I've been blessed, and that's the situation that we got here.
Exactly, exactly. And real quick, you want to tell us how people can contact you, how your fans can contact you on social media?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Uh, I'm on Twitter. I'm all over. It's just my name, Richard.
As in Richard Black Eagle Odoms, correct?
So yeah, you can contact me there. I got fan pages on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. And sometimes I get too busy, but don't drop a message. I'll be with you. I'll be
Okay.
back at you, and have no problem with that.
Okay, but other than that, man, it's been fun talking with you. I know we've been talking for almost an hour, which is probably double the amount of time I spoke to with your opponent, but still, it's been fun. I hope that y'all, tear the roof off with Cowboys Dancehall at the end of the month. Should all things go according to plan, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope to put on a awesome performance. I know Juan is ready to go, and he's going to be bringing the same heat. So again, it's going to be awesome night.
Okay. Other than that, I'm hoping to. I mean, I don't really have a dog in the fight because I don't really watch much of Fury FC, but I'm definitely gonna be checking that fight out when it does happen. Thanks for talking with me, sir.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
You too. Later.